Hark! Right, good. Last video we spoke about introducing God, didn't we? God the Father, the creator of everything. Unfathomable, unimaginable, literally unimaginable. And now I'm going to talk about the qualities of God. And when I say qualities, I guess I'm talking about the characteristics, the traits, the personality. God is creative. Now that is an understatement. Everything that's ever existed or ever exists is created by God ultimately. Even if I create this bowl, God created me, God created the clay, the fire, the everything. This was created within the creation of God by God's creation, doing something with God's creation. God can claim credit for the bowl. Not a bad bowl. Okay, many New Age type of journeymen miss that God has a personality, a persona, right? They think God is some all one creative force, elemental, mindless. And they buy into this idea that we're all this one big energy and it's mindless energy, and they're wrong. And there's a reason why they want to believe that, and what they want to believe is that they're not accountable to a higher God. It's just another way of denying God exists, really. Right, so these New Age types believe that God is impersonal, non-conscious, and it's deliciously and insanely ironic to consider God to be non-conscious, right? Like gravity or something like that. It's completely false. God is and has a personality. God is able then to think, to rationalise, to communicate. And we, humanity, are at best a tiny shard of that. Considering God as a personality can only be done by our own example and standard, using the words that we have for ourselves. So for this reason, it's going to be incomplete and probably slightly inaccurate when we talk about God, because that's like a cat describing a human being, but only 50 billion times more. I'd estimate that God has emotions and traits that we don't have. It's an interesting one, isn't it? And therefore we're unable to comprehend them, or imagine them, or relate to them, or explain them in any way. A being that had no compassion would not be able to understand the concept of compassion, or understand it, or have a word for it. It just wouldn't understand it, right? I expect God has more emotions and more states than we have. I expect ours are quite blunt. In the spectrum, especially the love spectrum, if you like, of compassion, empathy, devotion, ours are probably quite simple and simplistic and blunt. God is infinite. Everything about God is infinite. Which also we can't understand. But bear with me, because there is something we can understand, and we'll come to that soon. Upon experiencing God and coming to receive spirit from God, our own emotional palette is widened. It is. Especially what I would call the spectrum of love. So within that we have such notes as devotion and empathy and compassion, which in disconnected humanity are there, but largely displaced, small, insignificant, misplaced. We love our family, but not somebody else's family, and so on. And mercy, kindness, goodness, and so forth. We kind of have these, but they're not the biggest thing that we have. The biggest thing we have is self-interest, actually. God is huge on compassion. Humans are almost empty of it. God is holy. Holy is the combined attributes and character of the person of God. That's what holy is, the combined attributes and character of the person of God. God is holy. Only God is holy. Right? So only God is holy. We work to become more holy. More like God. But we never reach it in this world. Humans are never holy, with one very notable exception. God is literally brilliant, and to know God is to love God. When you come to know God, when His Spirit comes within you and you enter into a relationship with God, and He is able to communicate with you internally and externally, and you find yourself having God within you and also being within God. And so you're living in God, and God is communicating to you and through you. And you get to a glimpse and understand through this relationship the aspects of God that are His personality, that is God. His goodness, His kindness, His brilliance, His humour, His wit, intelligence. You can't not love God when you really come to know God, and you can't not admire God when you come to really know God as well. There's only one quantity that can be applied to God, and that is unified oneness and infinitude. How big is God? It's not even a question the question is flawed. How much of anything does God have? Again, an infinite amount. How much compassion does God have? Infinite. How hard is it for God to turn water into wine, or walk on water, or any other miracle in this material realm? God has infinite power and infinite capacity to do absolutely anything in this material realm and anywhere else. Nothing is any harder or more difficult than anything else for God to do. It cannot be. For if it were so, God would not be infinite, and God is infinite. So some people might say, oh, I believe this miracle, but not that one, because that one seems kind of doable, and this other one seems like unfathomable. You know, I can't understand how somebody could have a virgin birth, but I could understand maybe how somebody could turn water into wine, so I believe that. No. They're all as simple to do for God as anything. There's no scale of how difficult anything is for God, right? They're all completely impossible, or they're all completely doable. And because it's God, they're all completely doable. God is infinite in all and unlimited in every possible variant of metric. And God is utterly mysterious. Now, I'm not going to get our heads around God. You're not going to go away from this video or from this life understanding God. You might go away from it knowing God, and that'll be amazing. But you won't understand. You might understand a little bit more than you did the day before. You don't understand. How are you going to understand the infinite? You're not, right? And this is why so many variations of religion and spiritual practice have emerged in every human culture since the dawn of the age of human culture. Because we have this knowing that God is real. Most of us know something like that, apart from the sausage merchants that believe we are animated sausage meat. And every society and civilization is constructing some form of explanation for this God that they understand is there, but they can't really understand. There is, however, an event that changed the unknowableness of God that happened 2,000 or so years ago, and we measure the passing of time and years by it, and it is the subject of the next chapter of this book and of the rest of this book and the rest of my life, actually probably the rest of my eternity. And I'm talking about Jesus. Talking about Jesus, God made flesh, made man, that we can actually see and understand and have a conversation with and relate to. And that's the subject of the next video, introducing Jesus. Shall Shalom, pilgrims. Shalom, shalom.